Welcome, 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 y'all, to Married at First Sight, Season 15, Episode 4. And this video is for Nate and Stacia. I do separate videos on all the other couples. At the end of this video, you see a link above my head. Click on it, and you can watch my videos on the other couples. But we are talking about Nate and Stacia, and I'm really all the way in with this couple now, y'all. My very first video, I was leery about Nate because I'm leery about anybody that got a pass where they were selling fake Louis Vuittons. But let me tell you, I am learning a little bit more and more about Nate each episode. And the more and more I learn about him, I like him. And I'm also learning a little bit more and more about Stacia as well. In each episode, I'm liking her more. She is not turning out to be the stick in the mud female and just like this that they really portrayed her to be. I really like the way she interacts with Nate. I love the way she listens to him. I love the way she gives care and concern. And what that does is it allows Nate to open up and tell his truth. You know, women are always talking about how, oh, he doesn't open up. He doesn't share his vulnerabilities with me. Let me tell you, Stacia right now is showing a textbook on how you get a man to open up to you and tell you things that aren't so great, but he tells you anyway. And Stacia is doing the exact thing, because when Nate tells her things that may not be perfect or different, her reaction is great. It's quite different from Alexis, that when Justin opens up and tells her thing, she goes, scrunches up her face and says all these other kinds of things. Stacia looks calm, cool. She expresses concern, empathy, and she asks follow-up questions about what could I do to help or to make you comfortable. I love that about Stacia right now. I'm loving this couple, y'all, and they lit it up on the screen today with that steamy sex scene shower. We're gonna talk about that too, but they lit it up this episode. When they walked in that honeymoon room and he was like, I'm gonna take this side of the bed, and Stacia was like, what, okay. Well, okay. I mean, is there anything behind it? She didn't ask, but I know what was behind it, because what I looked at that was, that's just like my husband. My husband likes to choose the side of the bed that's closest to the door. That's like old school chivalry. That's what that is, old school chivalry. I don't know, some people may not know about that, but the man is supposed to sleep on the side of the bed that's closest to the window or that's closest to the door. Then that way, when an intruder comes in, he's the first one to be able to protect his wife. May seem ridiculous, but that's old school chivalry. Just like walking on the side where the man walks on the side of where the cars are and the woman walks on the inside. All that chivalry. That's what I looked at that as with Nate. I looked at that as chivalry, and I bet he learned that from his daddy. But Stacia's going on, she's talking about she got butterflies in her stomach, and she hoping that he likes to cuddle because he likes to cuddle. And we know Stacia, she ain't even been out on no date in 2 years, so who knows when the last time was she cuddled with a man. So I know she's really excited, and I'm happy for her. So they both got their little cuddle session on. They was kissing and smooching, and they got serious chemistry. You could tell these two have really a natural chemistry going on. And I like Stacia's question, what is your expectation of a wife? You know, she really wants to get to the meat of it. What is it that you're looking for? Because they already realize they both like each other physically. Let's get to some meat of this. What are you expecting for some wife? Because Stacia, you know what? She goal-oriented. She likes to say, what is the target? What's the bullseye? What is it that you like, so I can know if I can meet that? I like that strategy. A lot of people want to just come in and do what they want to do and then want the other person to like it. What I liked about Stacia, she went and said, what are your expectations? What do you want? So she could know whether or not it's something that she can deliver and or what she would need to do in order to deliver that. I love that question. As opposed to when I was talking about Kristen and Mitch in the episode, Kristen's all about keeping Mitch comfortable. Oh, what does he need? What does he need? What does he need? It's more terms of him liking her as opposed to saying, how is this a good plan? It comes from two different places. I like the difference between what Stacia's doing versus what Kristen's doing. Kristen is trying to just calm Mitch, trying to make him like her, as opposed to Stacia, she's actually asking a more in-depth question. And because she's asking these types of questions, I think Nate is feeling heard. He's feeling as if, you know, she's paying attention to him, and it makes him open up. And so he starts opening up and talking to her about all types of different things. So he asked her about what some of her biggest insecurities are. And that was a lead-in question. The reason he asked her insecurities because he wants to tell her his. I had already peeped that Nate has some insecurity issues going on. And I really did think it centered around him being biracial. I really did. I saw that straight from the beginning, because one of the things that he asked Stacia from the very beginning was, do you think I'm attractive? And that told to me that there have been lots of times when women, and probably Black women, have not found him attractive. And he wanted to make sure that his wife, Stacia, was a Black woman that found him attractive. I too believe that Nate has dated outside of the Black race. He probably has dated white women or different, maybe a lot of different ethnicities. And sometimes people don't believe this. Sometimes it's because he might have wanted to date African-American women, and some African-American women don't find him attractive. It's so true. I'm starting to really know who Nate is. Having grown up in California, having grown up in a state in which African-Americans are really not a large part of the population out here, we're really only at most 9%. People don't realize that. People think there's a lot of Black people in California. There really isn't a lot of Black people. We're only like 8 or 9% of the population out here. But when they start telling that story about him being grown up in the military, having to bounce around from state to state, not being accepted, two things clicked in my head. I really understood it, because one thing is, the same story happened to my husband. My husband is not biracial or, fair-skinned guy. He's a very chocolate brother. But the story of being in the military, bouncing around from country to country like my husband did. He lived in Germany. He lived in Alaska. They do grow up with this sense of never belonging, because they're always having to make friends. Every 2 years, they're moving to a new state or a new place, and they got to make friends all over again. That's really hard on military kids. California is a big military state, especially San Diego. There's a base down there, places where Nate lived. In Las Vegas, also a lot of military down there, ex-military. So I'm really starting to understand his story. I'm understanding how he grew up. I'm understanding how he might have felt like he didn't fit into any other world by being biracial. But let me tell you, it's just not being biracial. It's also the fact that he had to pick up and move a lot. And that's hard to have a solid foundation. Me, on the other hand, I was I lived in the same house with my parents from when I was 6 years old till I went off to college. Very stable. My husband, on the other hand, moved every 2, 3, 4 years with his father, who was in the Air Force. But I like that him and Stacia could bond over this issue, and I think that created a better bond. But one thing I want to say to Black people, everybody, about how we divide ourselves, or anyone, it probably happens in other races. I know it happens in the Indian culture. It even happens in the Latino culture. They do the same thing, dividing races based on dark skin, light skin. It's just not African Americans, and I wish people would stop saying that. This whole thing about light skin, dark skin happens in a lot of cultures. It's not just the Black community. And let me tell you, bullying people for certain things, it doesn't just happen to light skin people. I was bullied because I was dark. I'm a chocolate sister. And let me tell you, I was bullied. I was called black as the night. I was called all sorts of things when I was in school. Kids need to understand that, you know what? It's just not because you're this or because of that. People are just cruel in junior high and high school. Kids are cruel. They pick out anything about you and they exploit it. So sure, Nate might have been exploited because of his being light skinned and dark skinned. I mean, add on to that, he doesn't know his mom or doesn't have a relationship with his mom. I could understand how he grew up just feeling insecure, not loved, all of that. I really do. I could really understand his story so much more. And Nate and Stasia's one to understand it. Like she said, she understood because she went to a predominantly white high school. Let me tell you, that's the story of a lot of Black people in California, because my story, I went to a predominantly white high school. There are not a lot of Blacks in California. So it's really common that a lot of Blacks went to predominantly white school or where they were the minority. So this idea of trying to fit in is a story of a lot of people. It's just not the story of Nate. But I think what Nate found was he found another woman who could resonate with it, who could understand it, and that gave him comfort, and I'm all for it. It reminds me of when my husband met me, and he found a woman too that could understand his story, his story of trying to fit into a world when you don't look like other people. I understood the story because I grew up like that as well. I might have been in the military, but I understood it as well. But it sounds like these two are two peas in a pod. We already know they kind of look alike. And then all of a sudden now you start finding out that they both are workaholics. They both are entrepreneurs. They both want to be power couples. These two are two peas in a pod. Like Sasha said, it's almost like she married the male version of herself and he married the female version of himself. At first, I was really unsure if this couple would make it the very first time, because I thought Nate was going to come to the table with a level of arrogance, and I thought Stacia was going to come to a table with a level of bullheadedness and stubbornness, but I don't see that at all. I don't see that at all. I see both of them coming to the table, listening to each other, learning about each other, and trying to find common ground in which they could work together, and I am enjoying it. You know, Nate was an open book. He told about his bankruptcy from his business. I could tell that because one thing I do know about their business savvy, Nate seems to have learned a lot of his business savvy in the street, on the fly, like that. And Stacia has a different combination. She has a combination between corporate and entrepreneurial. And that's the thing I tell people about being an entrepreneur. Oh, I don't want to do the corporate way. The thing about the corporate way is you learn on other people's dime. One thing about when you work in the corporate world is you get to learn some savvy, some business savvy, but the mistakes you make, you don't pay for them. The corporation pays for them. I always tell people that's fine that you want to be an entrepreneur, but you should spend some time in corporate America, because when things go bad with whatever product is going on, you don't have to pay the price. The company pays the price. Once you've learned a few tricks of the trade, then you can go out on your own and start your own business. And that's what Stacia did. Stacia actually learned a lot in the corporate world. Then she went out and she started a business. Nate, on the other hand, seems to have started out as an entrepreneur, first selling bootleg Louis Vuittons, and then he moved over into other areas. And then what happened was he ended up having a bankruptcy. And that kind of stuff sticks with you. Bankruptcies just don't fall off in a year or two. They stick with you for a while. So he's probably had to have some recovery time. But you know what? He was open and he was honest, but it's going to be quite clear that Stacia is going to be coming into this relationship with a little bit more financial footing than Nate has. That I called correctly. That's exactly what I called correctly. That although Nate has this ambition to be an entrepreneur and get to a certain place, the truth of the matter is Stacia is a lot further along on that road than he is. So it's going to be interesting to see how he handles that. But right now I'm loving this fun side of Nate. When he got to that honeymoon, he was running and jumping in the room, jumping in the hot tub. He was like, oh, let's get it on. Let's get it cracking. I love that fun side because I think that Stacia needs this. To me, she is still very, very mature. I really want to see her let her hair down. I want to see her laugh. I want to see her have a good time. She's a very responsible person. So I'm hoping that they're going to be able to balance out each other. I hope that he will bring some fun to her life. And I'm hoping that she will bring some stability and groundedness to his life. And it will be a perfect combination. But let me tell you, that shower scene, you talk about Mr. Ish talking about he's the environmentalist. Nate and Stacia the environmentalists, because they over here saving water, y'all. They having that steamy sex shower scene. And I'm telling you, they didn't even look like they was awkward at all with them camera people all up in them. I don't think they were full on naked. I think he had his undies on, and I think she might have had on a swimsuit or something. But I would have been like, wow, they all got the cameras up on me. But, you know, Nate is on the after party, so watch my video on the after party as well. But he said they did have a few drinks, so they wasn't paying them cameras at all. They were so into each other, they forgot that them cameras was there. I guess so, because they act like they were well rehearsed, experienced actors and actresses, the way they was lighting up that screen. But Nate said he used to jump into the bed fast with women. He said he normally it don't take too long for him, but he want to take it slow. He wants to get to know his wife. She says she wants it to be more meaningful than just sex. I agree with that because I've been watching Married at First Sight for a long time. And I don't know what the track record is, but I think of the couples that had sex on the first night, I don't think their rate of being able to make it past decision day was very good. I think that's a low success rate. So if any new people are coming in, don't have sex on the first night. Doesn't mean you can't do it on the honeymoon. But people who had sex on the first night, I don't think none of their marriages last. But I'm still excited for these two. I can't wait for what's to come and to watch next week. It does look like they're going to get into them stuff about this posting up and everything. It's bound to happen. We got to have the conversation, but hopefully they can smooth it over and Nate can get out his feelings, because I'm with Stacia. Hold your ground on that one, girl. Hold your ground. Anyway, that's it, y'all. Watch the other videos on the other couples and tell me what you think down below in the comments. Talk to you later. Bye.